Hey everyone, it's spring in Tennessee, a great time of year for us to mulch our landscape trees and shrubs. But I want to talk today a little bit about volcano mulching. This is the application of a small circular ring of mulch directly at the base of the tree, oftentimes with that mulch extending high up the trunk. This is a frequently seen practice. You know, we see it in landscape, we see it in medians, parking lots, and well, seemingly everywhere a new tree is going in the ground. Now, volcano mulching is an extremely destructive practice because it encourages stem girdling roots and it oftentimes leads to an early tree death. When trees are volcano mulched, much of this mulch will stay in direct contact with the tree's bark. And it is this constant moisture and the heat from the breakdown of the mulch that will eventually cause the bark to rot and separate from the internal wood of the tree. Over time, this separation of the bark disrupts the movement of water, nutrients, and sugars throughout the canopy. Interestingly, when I begin to pull back these mulch mounds, oftentimes I can expose these small feeder roots that instead of growing down into our native soils have instead begun to grow upwards into this softer, oftentimes more nutritious mulch. People are always amazed to see these small fibrous feeder roots growing up in the mulch mounds. Now, of course, this becomes problematic in the heat of the summer when these small mulch rings begin to dry out and they don't provide the same benefits of a properly applied mulch. Finding trees that have been properly mulched is not always the easiest task in Tennessee. Now, when mulching, the best practice is really to try and mimic what we would see in a natural forest setting. And that means a large amount of leaf litter distributed across the entire tree's root zone. Mulches should never be any deeper than 3 to 4 inches thick, and they should never touch the actual bark of the tree. Ideally, our mulches would extend also all the way out to the drip line, and that is the length of those furthest horizontal branches. This allows those fibrous feeder roots that we just saw to extend far away from that trunk to absorb water and nutrients. Properly applied mulches are also multifunctional. When applied properly, mulches conserve soil moisture, they help keep surface temperatures cool around a tree's root zone, and of course they improve soil structure over longer periods of time. But just as important as these biological benefits, most importantly, properly applied mulches keep people, mowers, string trimmers, and vehicles away from and off of your tree's roots. Now, one of the common questions I receive is how do we fix a tree that's been volcano mulched? And unfortunately, if you've inherited a tree that has been volcano mulched for many years, there may not be much you can do, as many of those fibrous feeder roots have now developed themselves into the volcano mulch mound and they've matured, so now they're larger diameter. So this makes it almost impossible for you to rake back the mulch without exposing those feeder roots and ultimately damaging or killing them. Properly mulching our trees is highly desirable, and it's one of the best ways we can benefit our trees long term. You know, mulches should never come into direct contact with your tree's bark, and when you're done mulching, you should clearly see the tree's visible root flare there at the base. While the upfront cost of a few wheelbarrowfuls of mulch doesn't seem that costly, the long-term consequences of improper mulching certainly are. So this year, I encourage you to think twice before just applying another layer of mulch at the base of your tree.